What's going on? Welcome back to Living in Chicago Southland. You know, running this channel, running our page, southwestburbs.com, we get a ton of questions about what it's like to live here in Chicago Suburbs. So we're going to answer some of those today. Alright, welcome back to Living in Chicago Southland. We have helped hundreds and hundreds of people relocate to the Chicago area, sell their home in the Chicago area, move to the Chicago area. If you're one of those people, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out all of our videos. We have videos on what it's like to live here, sell a house, buy a house, everything in it that involves living in Chicago Southland, you will find here on this channel. So hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification button. We'll let you know whenever we put out a video on living in Chicago Southland. I personally lived here my entire life, so 40 plus years of experience of living in the Southland. So we're going to talk about today about some of the things and some of the big questions we get asked about what it's like to relocate to the Chicago area, specifically the South Suburbs, also known as Chicago Southland. So the biggest question we get all the time is, are the taxes really that bad? And it depends on what you think is that bad, but statistically we do have some of the highest taxes, sales taxes as well as property taxes in the country, in the Midwest. So that's something you definitely want to consider if you're thinking about moving here. You know, I always say, all right, if taxes are high, what are you actually paying for? And for most of the Chicago suburbs, the largest portion of their taxes are going towards the schools. And if you have kids going to school, you certainly want them to get the best education and have the best school experience they have. But even if you don't, a lot of customers and clients of mine always say, well, my kids are grown up, my kids are gone, I don't care about the schools. Well, that's not necessarily true, at least in my opinion. Schools are one of the biggest factors that will contribute to what your property value is and what it might hold in the long run. So whether or not you have kids attending schools, being in a good school district or a top-rated school is still very important for your property value. So make sure you look at those taxes. You know, another part of what taxes are paying for is your infrastructure, your roads, your police, your fire, things that make living in a community a positive experience. So make sure, depending on which suburb you're looking at, you can actually look at what tax bills are and what they're going to be and what your tax dollars are going to go for, and make sure that you're spending your money in the right spot. Yes, taxes can be high, but what do you get for it? If you get something positive, it's not necessarily a negative. Another big question we get from a lot of our clients, especially those relocating from another area, is the traffic really that bad in the Chicago area? And it can be. Depending on what kind of travel you do, you absolutely want to take care of your means of transportation as well as your accessibility to different modes of transportation. There are many different suburbs in the Southland of Chicago. Some have different access to different expressways. Some, like where I live, you have access to a couple different routes to get downtown. There's public transportation to take into consideration. So the traffic is certainly a real thing. I've heard of people taking 2 hours to get 20 miles. So if you get caught in rush hour traffic, it can take a large portion of your day. While sitting and listening to a podcast or some of the things that are available to us today aren't such a bad idea, I don't think there's anybody out there that wants to spend 2 hours in traffic. So when you're evaluating suburbs and evaluating different places to live, you want to make sure that, you know, if public transportation is an option for you and where you're going, is there public transportation in the suburb you're looking in? If you have to drive downtown or drive to different, you know, Oak Brook or different areas of the suburbs, make sure you're keying in on an area that has easy accessibility to different options for expressways or different routes to get to where you're going. There's great apps out there like Waze and Google Maps that can help you avoid traffic and help you work around. But if you don't have a lot of options where you're located, what's the point of knowing where the traffic is if that's your only way to go? So evaluating different areas on what your options will be for travel could be a key part of avoiding that bad Chicago traffic. Another funny thing that out-of-towners always say to me is, are people really that serious about sports in Chicago? And the answer is absolutely yes. I mean, in the last 10 years, we've had the Chicago Blackhawks winning Stanley Cups, the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series, things like those. I mean, parades have shut down the entire city. When the Blackhawks were in the Stanley Cup, there were companies that reported major sick days being taken post-game. So we do take our sports very seriously. So if you don't like sports, this might not be the right place for you. But if you love sports, it's great. We have a lot of options. We have two Major League Baseball teams, obviously the NFL Bears. We have the Blackhawks and the Bulls, and everyone takes it extremely serious. I mean, we travel well too. I remember going to Nashville for the Chicago Bears playing the Titans, and literally Bears fans drank the city of Nashville out of Bud Light. It was a headline in the newspaper the day after the game. So if sports aren't your thing, this might be a tough area for you to live, or just get used to getting involved in the sports, because to be honest, it's quite fun to follow your teams, and it's a great way to get out and be social with all your friends and neighbors. Another giant question we get all the time about living in Chicago area, especially those coming from like warmer climates or out west or out east, is the weather in Chicago. Yes, it can be brutal as far as hot, as far as cold, and it can be also very brutal swings. There can be days that you're out there grilling one day and 2 days later you're out shoveling 2 feet of snow on your driveway. So you have to be able to handle big swings in temperature. You know, we've had years where it snowed on Halloween and that same year was 60 degrees on Christmas. So if you like seasons and you like change and fluctuation in weather, then this is a great place for you to live. If you like warm weather and nice constant temperature that you can get used to, maybe this isn't the place for you. You know, it seems like every time you pack away your warm weather gear and your winter stuff, that's a surefire way to bring on a snowfall 2 days later. So you have to be able to handle big swings in weather and extremes on both ends, hot and cold. Alright, hopefully this sheds some light for you on some of the big questions that people have when they are thinking about or potentially relocating to the Chicago area. If you're still around and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so. We have tons of videos on what it's like living in Chicago Southland and hopefully answering all the questions that you have about your move. If you are making a move, make sure you reach out to us. We've helped hundreds of people just like you and would love to be able to help out with your move. Our information is below, our website is below to search for properties in the area. Make sure you reach out. Look forward to hearing from you soon, and thanks for checking out the video.